What's up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We are going to get right down to business, troubleshooting 90s electrical nightmares. Fortunately for me, I have a lot of experience with this lovely Mazda RX-7, and if you're working on something of the likes of like a Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 or like a 300ZX, well, especially if it's twin turbo, then I kind of feel for you with looking in your engine bay and it not being as simple as this. Mind my covers, but everything in here pretty easy to access. This car has simplified sequential, and we're running into an issue. When I start it, it idles really rich and it surges. So, first few things that I checked: I unplugged the map sensor, car died. I unplugged the idle air control valve, car died. I went ahead and took the filter. So this is actually a filter, not a check valve. Took the filter out of the map airflow or map sensor line, hooked it straight up, no change. I went through the assorted RX7 Club vacuum diagrams for all the simplified sequential setups. Found the one that reasonably represents this car. I did not put this car together with all of that. I just did the turbos. So I had to kind of figure out how it was set up, which when you bring in cars in your shop, it is what it is. Sometimes stuff that's out of scope causes problems and you got to figure it out. Fortunately for me, the owner of the car is more than willing to make sure that we're covered as far as getting paid for the extra effort, as well as making sure the car is right is just a good priority for him. So find clients that make sure that's where their head's at. But anyways, I figured all that out, verified the vacuum system is in order. So then the next step, which is why y'all are here, this is the best part about 90s cars sometimes: check engine lights. So a 1993 Mazda RX-7 has a check engine light, and it doesn't necessarily come on per se when there's an issue, right? If you delete your catalytic converter on this car, you won't get a downstream O2 sensor fault, because, well, there isn't a downstream O2 sensor, guys. There's just one wire O2 sensor. So largely, emissions issues don't just show up on here as in blaringly check engine light, don't pass inspection, okay? But there is a way to put your car, check engine lights here, you're going to see it come on when I turn the key on, right there, and it'll go away after you start the car. But there is a way to put your car in what's called Diagnostic Mode, or a way to check what the check engine light or the diagnostic codes are showing. And this is not uncommon for other assorted 90s cars to have a little diagnostic box up here, or on an FC RX-7 to have an assortment of diagnostic plugs, which I think I can probably find one pretty quickly for you right here. Look at this. This is a Series 4 FC RX-7. This green wire right here lives on the passenger side strut tower, and that's one way that you can diagnose different things, get the check engine light to come on, or this yellow wire here is actually your fuel pump turn on. So there's different diagnostic ways about these 90s cars, and if you have a Mitsubishi or a Nissan or whatever, look those up and figure it out. Same thing, these BMWs we have sitting out here have that big screw lid diagnostic port that helps them, mechanics, car enthusiasts, try to figure out what's going on with their 90s junk. So we've got the diagnostic port open. We have grounded with my little alligator clip jumper wire here and a pin the 10 plug, or the 10 pin, which is the that's just the label for it in here. So we've grounded that out, and what that does is it puts the ECU into diagnostic mode, such that when I turn this key on and leave it on for a little bit, we get to read what the check engine light is telling us. So largely this is Morse code, for lack of a better term. It's going to be a series of blinks of the check engine light, which is then going to reference the manual that has a code list to tell you. So for a Mazda, for example, it's going to have long blinks and short blinks. The long blinks are the first digit, the short blinks are the second digit. That's going to make a number. That number, we're going to go to the list, pull the code, and do that. So I'll show you the list, and we'll go through the process here. So turn the key on. You're going to see all the lights come on. They're going to start going away. Check engine light went away. 1 long flash, 2 long flash, 3 long flash, blank. So code 30. 1 long flash, 2 long flash, 3 long flash, short flash, short flash, short flash, code 33. So you guys get the picture. That's how the check engine light system works, and it's going to keep doing that, and eventually you'll find a point in your check engine lights series of flashes where it starts repeating itself, and that's your full list of codes. It doesn't just come out of the dash on a little OBD2 scanner thing like a modern car. So we did that on the FD. We got 4 codes. We have code number 30, code number 33, code number 38, and code number 39. Now, with this car having simplified sequential, out of all those codes, there's only one that is reasonably troublesome to me, but I don't actually think it matters after looking a little bit deeper into this. So, code number, I think it was 33 or 38, one of the twos, they kind of look the same, was an AWS fault, or AWS, which is all-weather start system, or I think that's what it's called. But basically, it's your cold start, idle up, effectively. That's deleted on this car. All the stuff back here for the coolant, that's all disconnected. So there will be coolant running through the throttle body, and that's what would help to sense the cold start assist. So since all of that's deleted, learning how to read RX7 trouble codes actually didn't help us, because if all that stuff's gone, the codes aren't saying map sensor, the code isn't saying TPS adjust, then where do we start? So we know it's a rich condition. It's a stock fuel pump, stock fuel pressure regulator. My guess is the fuel pump is probably not overpowering the regulator. That would be something to think about, right? You have old school injectors. These are side feed injectors. Pump, too much pressure, too much fuel, it runs rich. But when I rev it, it clears up. When I rev it hard, it doesn't bog. It doesn't act like it's getting too much fuel, right? It also doesn't act like it has an injector that's stuck open, because it does rev. So we're going to eliminate for now, okay, not completely, but we're going to eliminate for now testing the fuel system. That is something we can test with a mechanical gauge. It's not terribly hard to hook up, but I don't think that that's going to be the issue based on other conditions. Now, the next thing we checked is ignition, okay? Pulled all the spark plugs. They look clean. Put a spark plug in each of the things. You pull them all out. Just plug one into each plug wire. Crank it. Verify you have spark on all the holes. For us, we got spark on all the holes, and you can tell just by how the car was revving in the last video, which I'll put a little clip in of it, is that it's revving pretty clean. So, what's next? Map sensor and TPS. Those two things on old cars can be very finicky. So what is a map sensor and what does it do? Map sensor is basically a pressure sensor. It lives right here. What this senses is the pressure in the intake manifold. If that sensor is acting funny, i.e. not within range, not within spec, maybe the springs broke on the inside, you never know, that's going to tell the computer to compensate in a weird way. Might throw too much fuel in the mix. Same thing with the TPS. If your TPS voltage is off and it thinks that the throttle is at 5% throttle, but yet the blades are closed, it's going to throw more fuel in there. So there's ways to check both of those things. Now, y'all laugh, and I hope some of you guys know what this is, but maybe not all of you. This thing, notice the lights, the green and the red and this, is a TPS checker from Mazda. This is Mazda's dealer mechanics tool, okay, for checking the TPS on an FC RX7. So the FC has like a narrow band and a wide range and whatever, and there's a little adapter thing. You plug this in, and then you adjust the TPSs until the green light's on and the red light's not, or I forget how to do it, but I got this from my neighbor Tim, who used to be a Mazda tech. He was like, dude, I got this cool thing for you, and you need it. And he handed it to me. We were at Tim's shop in front of all of his other mechanics, and his other mechanics were like, what in the heck is that? And I was like, I know exactly what that is. It was just really funny, but I may have to have it. This is the thing that, I don't know, he said he probably gave $40 or something for this back in the day. But anyways, I've got RX7 club forums pulled up, and largely this is where I go for my information. So, I appreciate you guys watching the videos, but a lot of this information is already out there if you just are willing to dig for it. And I'm happy that I can provide you maybe easier access and an easier way to explain it to you. So we've got the TPS stuff pulled up, and how we're basically going to do this is there's a green-red wire and a black wire at the bottom. We're going to measure the voltage in those wires. when the throttle is pinned and when the throttle is closed. And the TPS itself, you can actually twist it on the side of the throttle body to adjust it to make sure that the range is where you want it. So right here, green red wire, closed, 1 volt, open, 5 volts. The black wire, which is the bottom one, closed, 0.4 volts, open, 4.3 volts. So we're going to test that. So I guess there should be, between those two wires, or this, that, and the other, however the sensor works, there's 0.7 volts of resistance or whatever, drop. There's a drop in there. And it seems to be the same for both open and closed, so it does maintain that drop. So if you have stuff that's weird, start with the TPS. The TPS is back here. It should be, I think they're Allen keys to get these off. So the TPS is back here on the back of the engine. You can see that it's slotted a little bit. I don't have an FD REW upper intake manifold off of a car to show you here, unfortunately. But effectively it's slotted so that it can adjust. I mean, you've seen adjustments like this before, basically where you've got, so you've seen on a TPS, you've seen this before, you have the circle, you have a bolt hole and a bolt hole, and then the body of the TPS has like an oval on this side and an oval on this side, which allows you to rotate this in order to like clock this nut to here and this one to here, and it twists back and forth, much like clocking a distributor to set your timing. So, or a crank angle sensor, same thing as that. So that's how this TPS adjusts. So unfortunately, I think these are actually a standard screwdriver screw, which is not factory most likely. So I have a screwdriver with a 90-degree bend in it, so I can loosen it to adjust it. And we're going to be probing these wires. Now, you're going to say, how are you going to probe this connector? I don't know that I have, which I might. That's an RX8 harness. I thought I had another FD harness here, but I don't think so. That's Jeep. Oh, the FD harness is that big mess of stuff that's laying in there, I think. Anyways, on the harness, though, there's no visible metal sticking out of the back of that plug-in to be able to check it, and you need to check it while it's plugged in. So if you have a Power FC, you can see it on your commander. If you don't, what we're going to do is take effectively a safety pin, which is a, you know, like you would clip something on your shirt with, and I'm going to back probe through the insulation of the wire, just pierce it with a little tiny hole. You can do this with a pick, and then clip my probe of the voltmeter on that. Hopefully you can see the screen. You can see that the throttle blades are closed. Now I know it's not, the car isn't warmed up currently, so I'll verify if I need to check this whenever it's warm. But we have 1.65 volts right now. Whenever I reach down here, you're going to see me floor it. 4.96 volts. So you can see that. Oh, I'm making a horrible shadow for you. I'm in a really bad spot with my lighting to make this happen. Hopefully you guys can see that. 1.65 volts now. The engine is not warmed up, so I will verify if I need to warm it up to see if that voltage goes down to the required 1 volt. When I floor it, you'll watch that climb. 4.96 volts at full rip. So that's the voltage change in your TPS. So now, what we'll do is we're going to go through and we're going to adjust that so that it matches what the service manual says, which should be 1 volt. Alright, so in order to adjust the TPS on this car, I had to go and get one of these fancy devices. Okay, this is like a ratcheting bit tool thing. I tried to reach back in there with a socket. This is a 1/4-inch socket with a flathead bit in it, standard screwdriver bit, and I couldn't get it. So I had to go get one of these. I didn't have one of these before, so now it's nice to have a nice little nut driver thing. So I was able to get down in there and loosen the 2 bolts on the TPS to where now I can slide it. I'm going to go ahead and put a Sharpie mark on it where it currently is and just mark that, so that way if changing this doesn't help anything, one of the big things you always want to do when you work on cars is only change one variable or change the least amount of variables at a time. So I can always put this back to where it was and then start chasing down another variable. So let's do that. Alright guys, so I got it adjusted. We're sitting at 1.02 volts now while we're closed. I did retighten the TPS down so it shouldn't move. At full throttle, we're at 4.96 volts. Back open, 1.02 volts. So now we get to fire this thing up and see if it does the same thing as it did before, or if it fixed itself. But the TPS sensor was definitely not set correctly. Hopefully it's fixed. Somebody commented on one of my videos, quit shaking the shifter. You know it's in neutral. It's in neutral. Oh, hey. Clutch safety switch. New car. Bathe in the silence of a nice, smooth, stock-ported idle. Hey guys, TPS was out of adjustment. Dialed. Alright, so I'm gonna let this thing warm up. Make sure it doesn't do anything weird. Make sure none of the idle stuff gets weird again. And I really want to thank my buddy Johnny for grabbing lunch with me today and taking the map sensor off of his perfectly good and running and driving car so that I could test it on here if need be. I don't think I need it, but I'll bring it back to him tomorrow. So let's let this thing idle. Also, for those curious, talking about exhaust fans, this, that, and the other, I've got a fan up here that blows air out the back of the shop, which I will hook up right now. Like, it's definitely still running a little bit rich. But we do vent air. It was running really rich, and the airflow kind of sucks in my shop. So we'll go outside where the light's a little better and things not that loud. Honestly, that's a pretty good idle for a stock FD. The other thing, the air pump's removed on this car, guys. So it's not something I did. It was already done like that. But there is a lot of, I know my buddy Ernie messaged me, and I appreciate the message, which I don't think I got back with him yet, but when you take the air pump off of a stock ECU car, it kind of trips the idle up because it doesn't get that extra pumped air into wherever, I guess, the intake or where the air pump pumps the clean air, or sucks air from. I wouldn't know much about that. I haven't built or messed with a car that has an air pump, but I am very happy with how this thing is idling right now, even with the air pump gone. And if this is the idle you get removing the air pump, then so be it. I'll make sure the owner knows that, like, hey, you know, because of this, and this is why the car is going to act this way. I'm sure as well, and I, like I said, I'm not a super expert on the FDs just yet. I don't own one. I've never owned one. But I'd be curious if we couldn't put a Power FC in this car, and then with the Power FC enable and disable a certain few things so that we can get the idle to just be perfectly smooth. So, but really, for a rotary, this isn't a bad idle. This car does have intakes and exhaust, so it is getting a little bit more air in and more air out than stock. So, you know, having a little bit of a low B idle is probably okay. But it's not surging really bad like it was before. And we're sitting right at 800, so I'm content with that. Well, guys, after the smoke has cleared, it didn't settle into a choppy idle. However, it's still running rich. It still has that bit of a bog / hesitation when you tip into the throttle, kind of like, and then takes off. So we've switched the map sensor out to Johnny's, and we're going to try to fire this up. I say try. We're going to fire this up. We're going to see what it does. And hopefully, with all the smoke having cleared, this fixes the issue. Because it's in neutral. Alright, so same as before. Cleanish idle. It did take it a little bit to settle in before and start running rich. This is with Johnny's map sensor, which we know is good. Man, it is. It's not as smelly as it was before. Keep in mind, this car does have a downpipe, catless midpipe, and just a racing beat muffler, so it's not gonna not smell, right? It has no cats. It also has a lot of the emission stuff removed and the air pump, so you're gonna have smelliness, but it shouldn't be like smoke out my shop smelliness in 5 minutes, right? But hey, this thing is largely just sitting here purring like a kitten. Still doing it. I feel like it's less, but I don't know. Maybe I need to be in the car revving it. That's where I was last time. See if I can feel that little bit of a breakup. I don't know. Y'all be the judge. Ooh, there's that little bit of breakup. Okay, I'm gonna switch them back, see what it does. What are you barking at, huh? Full mohawk. Did your deer buddy come back? Letty chased the deer, and then the deer chased the dog all the way to the shop. And I thought I was gonna have to chase this deer off. But when I popped out of the shop, it ran off. Dumb dog doing stuff. You chill, dog. Okay. Instant comparison. Man, I feel like that misses more. Smoke check. I don't know. I'm gonna switch it back. Alright, my dudes. I switched them back and forth 2 more times, doing the same rev patterns each time. Largely no difference. The Johnny's map sensor, I don't know, maybe if it's newer, it was a little bit more responsive, but largely the little misfire kind of, you know, like as it takes off, it did it with both. So I'm not too worried. I don't think it's the map sensor. That is where I'm going to end today's video. Unfortunately, fortunately, it's raining. This car doesn't come out in the rain. I'm not going to drive it in the rain at night on sketchy back roads. 0% chance we do that. So hopefully tomorrow, it's not raining when I get home from work. We can take this for a drive and see how it drives. This misfire, a little bit rich, idle condition, right, might just be the culmination of the fact that this has a stock ECU, right? This has intakes, has an intercooler, and it has a free flowy exhaust. that combination of stuff, plus the air pump delete, plus the sequential or the simplified sequential on a stock ECU, just might not be the most optimal setup for this car. My guess is that a Power FC could probably tune up and fix a bunch of those little items and get this thing idling and purring perfectly, because a lot of my friends that have these cars, they're all on Power FCs and they run really good. And who knows, we may go for a drive and it may run really good. It may just have, you know, the typical 90s car rotary, you know, stutters and steps here and there, but largely run good, and I think that's what we're hoping for. So with that, guys, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed figuring out a check engine light, doing some wiring diagnosis on an FD-RX7, and if you did, definitely hit the subscribe button. Check out the other videos on the channel. We got RX8's, first gens, rotary engine rebuilds, all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. I'd love it if you did. And drop a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. If you have had this issue with your car, or you have this exact setup and it does this, drop a comment below to reassure me that this is how it should be. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Keep it rad. Laddie, is this car running perfect or what? You're down there out of all the fumes. I'm at a different elevation up here. Is the car running good? We should go drive it? Come on, jump. Hey, jump. Is the car running good? We should go drive it? Hey, come on. Come on, jump. Jump up. Yeah. We'll go drive it.